In this video, we're going to be going over the top 3 stocks for my long-term portfolio. Let's go straight into the video. So before I move forward, if you guys don't mind dropping a like and comment, subscribing, it really helps the channel out, helps me grow. That would be much appreciated. Now moving forward into long-term investing. So the other day I mentioned something about my long-term investing, and I got quite a few messages about people asking me to make content about my long-term investing. So I figured, might as well. People want it, so might as well give it to them. Now, there's a common misconception that people think long-term investing is like 30 to 60 days.
Remember, we are long-term investors. We're in this for 3 to 4 weeks.
For me, when I mention anything long-term, I'm thinking like 5, 10, 20 years down the line. I'm 24 years old and I plan to retire by hopefully 30s or my 40s. I plan on doing that by investing in real estate or the stock market. So I just take my profits from day trading or my other income sources and really just funnel into my IRA or my other long-term investments. And that's how I plan to do that. Now, I'm sure you guys see lots of those influencers or those gurus on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube even, driving around Lamborghinis. They got exact cars. They go to the club all the time. But for me personally, that's not really my type of thing. I'm pretty content if I can make $500 a day. It was not as exciting or as cool as making thousands of dollars, $10,000 in a single day of trading. But for me, consistency is king. I'd rather just focus on extracting a consistent amount of money from the market that allows me to hopefully be financially free and also do what I want to do 10 years down the line, rather than working like a 9-to-5 job that I really don't like a dead-end job. Hopefully by investing in good companies now, I can retire early and live off dividends or my stock portfolio and do all these cool things people are doing now in my late 30s or early 40s. Now I'll just break down a few stocks I really like and what I've been investing in heavily these past few months with this recent downturn. So the biggest holding in my long-term portfolio currently is NVDA. They're currently down about 60% from all-time highs, 64% from all-time highs. The all-time high is 346 and they're sitting down here at 124 currently. Now realistically, I could probably see NVIDIA coming down even lower to $73. But of course, like I keep saying, timing the market beats timing the market. So of course, NVIDIA could drop another 10, 14, 15% whatever and come down here to $74. It could even go lower than this. But I think the upside potential for semiconductors and everything NVIDIA is doing with the data centers and AI, pretty limitless. Or you could say Mr. Unlimited, like Russell Wilson. I think the upside for semiconductors and NVIDIA as a company is really promising. So that's why I continue to dollar cost average in every week. I buy a couple shares, 2 or 3 shares. Every month I buy about 10, 15. And if NVIDIA ever returns back to all-time highs, if it comes back down here to $74, that will yield about 360% return. So if you ever see NVIDIA down here at the $74 region, I think it's a great buying opportunity. You may never see NVIDIA down here at these levels again. Of course, you could continue down lower, but for the long term, 10, 15, 20 plus years, I believe you'll see NVIDIA above 350 in the next decade. So that's why I continue to buy it. And that's why it's the biggest holding in my long-term portfolio currently. So the next biggest holding in my portfolio is Microsoft. Now, Microsoft is doing some pretty interesting things with the Azure cloud services, and they're taking over lots of market share from AWS, which is why I really think they have massive growth potential. Now you'll see from the dot-com bubble of 2000, if you bought the peak of the dot-com bubble, Microsoft didn't do much as a stock from 2000 up until 2017. So if you didn't dollar cost average at all, it would have taken you about 16 years to break even on your position, which is why you should always be constantly dollar cost averaging in. It's almost impossible to buy the bottom and sell the top, which is why you just want dollar cost averaging your portfolio and don't really look about it, which is why I like using M1 Finance. Everything's automatic. So if the market starts turning red, I can just delete the app and pretend my long-term portfolio doesn't exist. Out of sight, out of mind, you know what they say. So then down here in 2008, 2009, when the market bombed in March 2009, everyone who would have bought shares down here at Microsoft at $14 and held up until today's date, October 21st, they would have made about a 1,500% return on their investment, which would have taken about 13 years. And that just goes to show, no matter how bad things look, things look pretty bad right now. You're down about 20, 25% on Microsoft year to date. But even when things got this bad in 2008, even after the dot-com crash, even Microsoft, one of the biggest companies in the world, they will eventually give you good returns as long as you dollar cost average in and you're in it for the long term and not trying to trade it for the next 3-6 months. You actually have that 10-15 year mindset and not that get rich quick mindset. I also hold shares of Amazon, Apple, Tesla, AMD, Google, CRM, Adobe. About 40% of my portfolio is allocated to ETFs like BTI, BDC, BUG, a growth fund, technology fund. But then I also have a small allocation to some speculative names. So the next one I'm going to go into is kind of speculative. I'm only putting about 2% of my allocation in this stock, but but I think the upside potential is here. It could yield some great returns in the future. So this next stock we're looking at is Roblox. You guys probably seen Roblox around. It's the little video game thing. From a technical analysis standpoint alone, not even looking at their financials or their user growth year over year, if you bought all-time lows down here at $21, even if they go back to all-time highs, that's about a 550% return. So buying off this 36, I started my position down here in the $28 range, so just around all-time lows. So even if I get that push back up to all-time high, that's about a 422% return. So from a short-term risk-reward standpoint, it makes sense. But looking at everything Roblox is doing, if the metaverse ever pops off and does anything significant, I think Roblox will be a major factor in that space. And not to mention that their daily active users are growing substantially year over year. So Roblox is averaging about 60 million daily active users. I didn't really think that this company, this website was that popular, but I mean, 60 million people are going to this website every single day. And this number grew 23% year over year, which is kind of outside to think about. Roughly right now, they're doing about 180 million in revenue each month. So I figured I might as well just start a small position down here. I don't have a lot of money into it. I'm just slowly dollar cost averaging in. Roblox ever goes back up to all-time highs in the next 10 years. Buying from this point right here, buying from today's date, that would be about a 250% return. From a risk reward standpoint, it makes sense, but from a long-term perspective, with the growth that I'm seeing from this company, it's a small starter position, not too much money into it, but if they ever do anything, it could be a great investment and could yield some great returns for years to come. So last and final stock I want to highlight that I've been investing into pretty heavily recently is Shopify. So right now they're currently down about 83% from all-time highs. So already that's a pretty beaten down stock. If you guys aren't familiar with Shopify, they're an e-commerce website. I'm not sure if you guys know or not, but e-commerce is a pretty big thing nowadays. Almost everything you guys buy is from an e-commerce website like Amazon. Everything's going online, especially with the influx of people wanting to get their own boss, starting their own businesses. Shopify is a great way to get that started. So I really don't think Shopify should be down 83%. If e-commerce ever dies off, I'm not really sure what's happening in the world, because the internet's kind of the way of the future. Almost everything revolves around the internet. So I don't really see a way where e-commerce would ever go away, and Shopify is pretty much the biggest and easiest way to create a website to start selling your own products. You guys can see since 2013, ever since Shopify IPO'd, they've been increasing substantially in revenue. They went from roughly $1 billion in revenue in 2018 and then did a 400% increase in 2020, the most recent sales earnings report. They increased their revenue from $1 billion in 2018 to $5 billion in just 4 years, which is pretty remarkable. Along with them continuing to grow as a company and the revenue increasing every single month, they continue to launch a bunch of new features, making it easy for new people to start websites and easier to sell their products. So as long as e-commerce is around and people want to become their own boss and start selling their own products and make money for themselves and leave their 9-to-5 job, I think Shopify will always be the best website to make a website with. I've tried websites like Wix and all these other kind of like Squarespace and all these other companies, but Shopify is definitely the easiest one to make a website. You can start getting paid literally the next day or even the same day if you know what you're doing. So Shopify, great investment for me personally. I think in 10, 15 years, Shopify will be well past all-time highs. Now, of course, I may be wrong. Maybe Shopify dies. They have poor management. But seeing an e-commerce stock that's down 83%, I think the upside potential is there. Just dollar cost averaging in. In 15 years, if I'm wrong, I was wrong. Once again, another small speculative position, about 2-3% of my portfolio. I'm not investing a lot, but just enough so if Shopify ever goes back to all-time highs, I can reap the rewards. If you guys enjoyed this kind of video, breaking down some long-term investments I'm in, some of my long-term portfolio, what I do with my money, just let me know in the comments below, and stay tuned for the next video. Thanks for watching.